fundamentally speaking, the problem I've been having this year is with like our stupid lower class like population, like the fucking black community, like lashing out at nothing. Like this myth that the police are targeting them purely for their skin color and not because they commit like half the crimes in the United States. Like,
what's up, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, RegulatorBlu, and you're watching Real Talk. Before we get into things, though, I'd like to give another trigger warning. In this video, I will be cursing a lot and using the R word. So if you happen to find the R word to be offensive to you, then please feel free to click off. No judgment here. And the same thing goes for, body shaming. If y'all don't like what I'm saying, please, again, feel free to click off. Go watch something more positive. I don't blame you. Those of y'all who stuck around, though, I appreciate y'all, truly. So in today's episode, we are going to be watching and reacting to the notorious Nintendo fanboy, Harman Smith.
It's time we come out and address the elephant in the room.
That's funny, Harman, because the only elephant I see is you.
Fantasy genre. We talk about Lord of the Rings and how it will fail compared to the epic Zelda movie coming in 2027.
What did he say?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop you right there, Harman. First off, the Lord of the Rings trilogy was far more successful than the Hobbit trilogy, as you can see. Secondly, I don't know what retarded-ass parallel reality you come from, Harman, but the Lord of the Rings films came out in the early 2000s. Third and most importantly, I highly doubt you've actually read the others because you held up Fellowship and kept referring to the series as a singular book.
27. Right, that's right. The official Harman Smith take on this situation is that Lord of the Rings that the Legend of Zelda movies will be far more successful and popular than that drivel from Middle-earth, right? I have way more credibility in the fantasy genre than you do, right? I'm a fantasy author myself.
Yeah, no, Harman, you don't have any credibility. You lost that and your integrity the moment you went to Twitter to flex what a racist, anti-Semitic piece of shit you are. I'm sure you'd find Hitler based, you fucking degenerate. I'm so glad you brought up your book because, let me tell you, this shit is fucking vile. I don't know how you could sleep at night, you goddamn predator. Now I know what you're gonna say, but Game of Thrones and the Witcher series does it. Yeah, they can get away with it because of the time period. Plus, they're not hyper-focused on preying on underage schoolgirls like your book does.
I know very well that The Legend of Zelda has long ago surpassed Tolkien when it comes to its creativity, its contributions to the fantasy genre.
Yeah, you only say that because your fat ass is on Rule 34 every night, watching Princess Peach getting her back blown out by Donkey Kong. Also, fun fact for you, retard, if it weren't for Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings, you wouldn't have Legends of Zelda.
Truly revolutionizing this type of story in a completely new format, right?
Are you ever gonna, elaborate on that? Or are you just gonna keep babbling like a fucking toddler?
A lot of people don't understand how big of a deal that is. That Zelda is the defining fantasy game. Far beyond that of anything else in the industry. Like, my grandma knows what Zelda is, right?
Are you ever gonna, clarify what you mean by that? Or are you just gonna keep talking in circles? And are you seriously going to sit there and say that the Legend of Zelda games are better than Baldur's Gate 3, Fable, Dark Souls, or even Skyrim? You're fucking retarded, dude. Also, I'm not surprised that your grandma would know about the games, considering you live in her fucking basement.
So, going into this movie, right, going into the hype season, people are beginning to notice things. Well, it's being filmed in New Zealand and it's a trilogy. It seems like they want to be Lord of the Rings. No, Zelda will be better than Lord of the Rings, and without even really trying.
Again, Harman, how? Elaborate, specify, explain yourself. Also, I'm pretty sure you're deliberately misinterpreting what folks are saying. If the Legend of Zelda movie or trilogy is being filmed in New Zealand, then it's safe to assume that they are going for a Lord of the Rings vibe, because that's where Peter Jackson made his flicks.
Trying, because Zelda offers more appealing aspects to our general culture. It's more reflective of our values. It's a tried and true fantasy story that's told over and over again throughout the decades, as opposed to like Lord of the Rings, which is just some kind of like a subversion to that.
Jesus H. Fuckknuckle, this guy's retarded. Can we start normalizing not using words we don't understand? Harman, the definition of subversion is the undermining of the power and authority of an established system or institution. In terms of literature, this essentially means that Tolkien's work in fantasy far exceeded everybody else's because he did what nobody else did. Also, what appealing aspects, Harman? How is the Legend of Zelda movie going to be more reflective of our values?
Bill, like Frodo was not able to destroy the ring by his own power at the end. Like, this Lord of the Rings is not as good as people make it out to be. It is not some all-defining classic. It is not the greatest in the fantasy genre. It did not invent fantasy, right? That's something I keep hearing people talk about. It's not like the greatest book ever written. It's not the greatest fantasy story ever told. It's not even the best fantasy book in his friend group, right?
Okay, now I'm really gonna lay into you, lard ass. First off, no one is saying that Tolkien or the Lord of the Rings invented the fantasy genre. What he did specifically, was he redefined the fantasy genre. And that's what idiots like you refuse to understand or even fucking acknowledge. Second, Harman, nobody is saying that The Lord of the Rings is the greatest story ever written, but it is one of the best because it's a top seller. Even today, it's a top seller. Third, you remember how you said,
I have way more credibility in the fantasy genre than you do.
yeah, no, you don't have any credibility in the genre, asshat. If you did, you would have actually read the other books, but you proved that you haven't by repeatedly calling the series a single book. Also, I forgot to mention this before, your PDF file story that's up on Amazon, where your fugly-ass doppelganger bangs a miner who can turn into a dragon, doesn't constitute as fantasy, you sick piece of shit.
Like, that's just how far behind Tolkien lags compared to modern contemporaries, right? Harry Potter was better, and Zelda will prove itself to be better once it's adapted to the silver screen. And the fact that people are coping so hard about this is simply an example of just how thoroughly the cult of Tolkien has mind raped.
Harman, stop using words you don't understand or don't know how to pronounce. Sidebar, have you all noticed that pieces of shit like this guy, glorify SA as if it's required to be a part of fantasy? Like, what the fuck? Harman, you really should stop using the words cope and seethe, because you're proving that my buddy Desire has gotten under your skin. I said this once, and I'm gonna say it again for your inbred having ass. Without Lord of the Rings, no Harry Potter. Without Lord of the Rings, no Dungeons and Dragons. Without Lord of the Rings, no Legends of Zelda.
People who don't actually read fantasy stories. Because when you actually read more fantasy books outside of Lord of the Rings, you do start to realize that the pacing is poor. The characterization isn't that interesting. It's more about the exposition than anything else. Like, there are all these really very real problems with Lord of the Rings that simply aren't present in better books. And it's not something we talk about because we have to put Tolkien on a pedestal, right? Like, we can't address the fact that this guy isn't like some literary masterpiece, right?
I swear to God, I'm losing brain cells listening to this fat fuck. Bitch, you yourself don't read fantasy stories. You proved that. And Tolkien is a masterpiece? No, you dumb piece of shit. He's a mastermind. There's a huge fucking difference. Can we please stop using words we don't understand? Also, fun fact for you, Harman, the Hobbit book came out in 1937, and later in the 1950s, the Lord of the Rings books released. How is this relevant? Well, you said, the pacing is poor, the characterization isn't that interesting, while simultaneously comparing it with Harry Potter, which is a modern-day take on fantasy, whereas Lord of the Rings isn't. It's just high fantasy. Yeah, Harman, I wouldn't be yapping about putting things up on a pedestal if I were you, considering how much you dick ride for Nintendo on a daily basis.
Like, well, he wrote Lord of the Rings, like he's the best. Like, he's the best because plebs believe he's the best, right? It has nothing to do with like the actual story or its actual contributions to fantasy. Like, when you actually look at the contributions to fantasy, what do you get? You get a bunch of knockoff products like D&D and Ultima that do nothing to innovate or do add absolutely nothing new. They basically just like, let's just have the Balrog come at you. Ooh, Ultima Zero did that, right?
You're also forgetting Pathfinder and others that were inspired by Tolkien's work, you idiot. Harman, if we're going by your logic, then by definition, Legend of Zelda is a knockoff of Lord of the Rings.
You fight the Balrog. No creativity, no originality. Like, it is just the same thing that Tolkien did, right? There was no creativity from like the followers of Tolkien. Like, they don't understand how fantasy works.
Harman, you don't understand how fantasy works, and you've proved that time and time again. Also, no creativity. So D&D didn't make beholders, mind flayers, blink dogs, or displacer beasts, but Zelda slobbering on Ganondorf's cock is creative?
Like, they just have this mindset where like, well, Tolkien did this, so like that's what fantasy is now. But that's not true, like, at all. Even back then it wasn't true. Like,
you are 100% retarded, Harman. Yes, actually it is true. Tolkien's work set the precedent for future fantasy stories. Tolkien's work literally reshaped and redefined the fantasy genre. Tolkien's work set the example for others to follow. The Legend of Zelda wouldn't be what it is today without Tolkien's work, you dumb fuck.
It's to me, I think worshipping Lord of the Rings is just kind of the literary equivalent of propping up, I don't know, like Oscar winners or like Game Awards nominees. Because like,
what the actual fuck are you talking about, Harman? One has nothing to do with the other. You're comparing apples to oranges, you fat fucking retarded bitch. Speaking of the Game Awards, I hear you don't like Baldur's Gate 3 because it's not on your Nintendo Switch. I think you're just malding over it because it bulldoze through all your favorite games.
These products aren't high quality. They're not interesting. Nobody engages with them or enjoys them or understands them on any capacity, right? How many people do you know who like have seriously read the Silmarillion, right?
Well, let's see, Harman. George R.R. Martin has, Stephen King has, and so has my dad who served in the Navy. I personally plan to read it after I finish Return of the King. Really, Harman? Nobody is interested? No one engages with these products? So in your reality, absolutely zero people went to see the films in theaters or play games like The Shadow of Mordor? Lo bro, I wasn't even allowed to touch Lord of the Rings online until I proved to my dad that I read and can comprehend The Hobbit. The game itself is still active.
Like, there are better things out there, but you will never ever see anybody outside of like core fantasy enthusiasts talk about them at all. right? Like, this is like the reality of the situation, is that the people who worship Lord of the Rings and think it's the greatest thing ever simply don't read other fantasy stories, right?
Harman, you don't even read fantasy stories, you fucking hypocrite. And I highly doubt that you're a fantasy enthusiast because you're shitting on the godfather of the fucking genre. Which is ironic as hell because Tolkien was actually close friends with C.S. Lewis, the author of the Narnia series.
Like, again, like, people notice this about Harry Potter fans. You know, I'm a Harry Potter fan, but like, there was no denying that before the whole tranny thing came to light, there was this very big like community of people who like were huge Harry Potter fans, considered the best ever, and yet didn't have any wider perspective. They didn't know anything about other fantasy book series, right?
Motherfucker, would you stop doing that? Harman, stop saying that you're a fan of something and then shit on the very thing that you claim to like. You're not making any fucking sense. Actually, no. What happened was Rowling got canceled for accusing an Olympic boxer of being transgender and was blasted on Twitter for her fucked up views on trans issues. And what do you mean, wider perspective? Harman, if you want folks to check out other fantasy stories other than Lord of the Rings, how about you A, read some yourself, and B, make some fucking suggestions.
Like, they didn't have any real experience with that. And so, like, that became a meme. Like, read another book, right? And that's applied to Harry Potter specifically, right? That's a very uniquely, like, millennial phenomenon. But, like, I do think the boomer equivalent is Lord of the Rings. Because there is no denying. The film adaptations were not good. They weren't interesting. The subsequent material hasn't been great.
Harman, have you ever heard of the phrase pick a lane? Like, if you want to say that in your opinion, the Lord of the Rings flicks aren't that good, even though you're objectively wrong on that front, I can respect that. But that's not what you're saying at all. Now, see, what you're doing is you're claiming that both the movies and books are, to paraphrase, piss poor work.
The toys, like video games, right? Like, nobody has ever really been able to turn Lord of the Rings into a franchise, even though they've like desperately been trying to make it such over the past 20 years in order to ruin its legacy.
I swear to fucking Christ, this inbred dumpster child is gonna make me crash out. I'm sorry, didn't you say something about Lord of the Rings not having a franchise? For the record, Harman, it's asshats like you who are ruining the legacy by attempting to shoehorn SA into any fantasy plot that exists when it's both disgusting and unnecessary.
Lord of the Rings is a book. It's not a movie. It's not an Amazon series. It's not like... It's a book. Okay? Like, and I do think the fact of the matter is that the fact that so many people don't read the book or even understand like critical aspects of the book, it just completely flies in the face of like any credibility that they have when they try and tell you that like the Lord of the Rings films are something special, because the films do make a lot of continuity mistakes. They do make a lot of changes. None of them make sense if you're enthusiastic enough about the source material to follow along with it and support it.
First off, Harman, a lot of people who see movies that are loose adaptations of books, they tend to go out and buy them after the experience, and the same goes for TV shows like Outlander and Game of Thrones. Second, you don't understand the critical aspects of the series. You haven't even read the series, because you refuse to even call it a series. Now yes, Tolkien intended Lord of the Rings to be one novel divided into 6 books, but his publisher at the time told him he'd have to split it into 3 volumes due to page length and printing costs. Third, there is a movie actually, 3 to be precise. Amazon does have a series loosely based off of the Unfinished Tales and the Silmarillion. Actually, roughly 16 video games are set in Middle-earth, 4 of which are Lego games, and are adapted from the movies, you fucking retard. Again, Harman, you don't have credibility or even integrity.
I have never supported the Lord of the Rings movies. I've always been against, like, that, book adaptions, because they're always garbage. But, like, I don't think the Zelda movie is going to have the same problems. Like, I do think that is going to be the big thing about Zelda specifically, is that it isn't going to be adapting any particular game. It's going to be its own thing, following similar concepts, right? So the creators are going to have a lot more creative freedom. Nintendo's going to be involved. And
Where are you getting this from, Harman? What's your source? Notice how your dumbass is still trying to compare books to video games as if you're making some sort of enlightened statement, which you're really not?
it's just going to be a significantly superior experience than watching a heavily condensed, bastardized version of the book adapted onto the silver screen, right? Like, Zelda is going to be better than Lord of the Rings by the simple fact that it is a far more adaptable franchise.
Harman, I'm confused. I thought you said the Legend of Zelda movie or trilogy is going to be better than Lord of the Rings because it offers more appealing aspects to our general culture and core values. Then you said that Tolkien's work is poor due to the pacing and the characterizations not being very interesting. But now you're saying that it's going to be better because it's a more adaptable franchise? Which one is it? Harman, you are so retarded. You're like a Magikarp, flailing around trying to make a decent point and failing. Also, what you mean to say is bastardized. Harman, you seriously need to stop using words you can't pronounce.
There is a lot more they can do with Zelda that they would never be able to do with Lord of the Rings, right? Like, and I think that it's just a testament of just how much more successful Zelda has been as a franchise, right?
Yeah, no, Harman. The Lord of the Rings is a far more successful franchise, considering it came out 3 decades before Legend of Zelda. And obviously they can do more with the Legend of Zelda movie or trilogy than Lord of the Rings did, because Lord of the Rings was filmed in 1999 and in the early 2000s, you fucking lolcow.
Right? Not just one specific game, not just because, like, Ocarina of Time is the greatest game ever made or anything like that. Like, no. Zelda has remained very relevant since 1986. You know, constantly growing, constantly evolving, introducing new concepts, you know, bringing in more and more players all the time, and just becoming this huge thing. Whereas, in a lot of ways, Lord of the Rings is a relic of the time period it came from.
Newsflash, fat ass. That relic laid the groundwork for your precious video game. Lord of the Rings is just as relevant. You are literally talking out of your ass.
And that's one of the things I realized when, like, I read it recently, is that, like, all the things I really appreciated about it is that it is a hallmark of what true British culture was like. You know, the real culture. Like,
Harman, it's pronounced Hallmark, and I'm not surprised that you still can't speak properly, because you're like Sylvester Stallone's brain-dead cousin. And what the fuck does that even mean? Real culture.
And I do value the work for that reason, but that's not the reason that most people put it up on a pedestal, right? You know, they don't celebrate it for, like, how based and traditional it is.
Oh, no. You don't get to claim that you value Lord of the Rings after you spent 10 whole minutes shitting on it and the author, you fat fuck. Once again, Harman, you are contradicting yourself. You can't say that Lord of the Rings is poor because of X, Y, and Z and then turn around and call it based. You disingenuous pig.
And to me, that's just a very strong testament to just how far we've fallen as a culture, where people can't look at something like this and develop an actual opinion about the work outside of some vague, non-committal, like, feeling that it's the best thing ever because everyone told me it was.
It's crazy to me how much this guy projects, man. Like, oof.
Doom the Dark Ages underperformed. Who could have possibly seen that coming? Who could have possibly come out and acknowledged that, considering Doom Eternal's poor reception among its core fan base, that the sequel would do considerably worse?
How would you know that, Harman? What's your source? Clearly you're not a Doom fan, because if you were, you'd know Doom the Dark Ages is a prequel not a sequel.
You know, who could have possibly told you that an uninspired medieval themed Doom game would have underperformed? Who could have thought that Doom Eternal wasn't all that well received among the actual audience? And who could have possibly made a number of videos on the subject for the past 4 years? You know, who's come out and done that? Me. That's who.
I seriously cannot fathom how Desire is able to make so many videos on an attention-starved narcissist like Harman. No joke, I have to take breaks here and there because my head starts to ache after listening to this retard for so long. FYI, dipfuck, Doom Eternal did not underperform. It had a strong launch, and it sold like hotcakes. You'd know that if you knew what you were talking about, but you clearly don't.
I predicted this years ago. You know, I acknowledged right off the bat that Doom Eternal was awful. It was reprehensible. It was a huge step down from 2016, but the fanboys did not want to admit it.
Harman, I know you are not accusing anybody of being a fanboy when you yourself are a Nintendo fanboy.
I don't know what it is, but like Doom is one of those IPs that seems to have this like religiously devoted group of like 20-something terminally online internet weirdos who think it's cool and badass to run around an open arena and like press ZT, the right trigger over and over again, you know, shooting things and then like mashing R3 to like, you know, automatically kill something.
Okay, Harman, let's pick a topic here. Are we bitching about Doom Eternal, or are we molding about Doom the Dark Ages? Fun fact, I never played a game in the series until I pre-ordered Doom the Dark Ages. To be fair, I wasn't interested in Doom because, you know, I thought it was like Destiny. Anyways, I bought Doom the Dark Ages because I really dig medieval shit and occult themes. Sorry to burst your bubble, Princess Harman, but yeah, Doom the Dark Ages is pretty damn badass.
It's like there's no real depth to the game, you know? It's not complex, it's not interesting, it's not engaging, it's not some new, fresh, original thing. It's not even as good as the original Doom games, but Doom 2016 was something that was propped up and worshipped because gamers did not have anything else coming out that year, right? Unless you were like me and were playing the far superior Star Fox Zero, you were still in this cultural zeitgeist of hating Nintendo and thinking that Nintendo was doomed to fail and thinking that like they were doomed essentially.
No, Harman, that's a lie. There wasn't a culture of hating on Nintendo. I know this for a fact because I graduated high school in 2016, and I can tell you firsthand that Nintendo dominated that year with Pokemon Go as well as Pokemon Sun and Moon. However, Overwatch won Game of the Year. Again, Harman, can you please pick a topic and stick with it? Are we talking about Doom Dark Ages, or are we talking about Doom Eternal? Are we talking about Doom 2016? Like, fucking pick one, damn it. Also, no other games came out that year. So what you're telling me is that we didn't get Uncharted 4, Gears 4, Dark Souls 3, or COD Infinite Warfare? No, of course not. In your reality, all we got was the far and superior Star Fox Zero. Way to rewrite history, you fucking retard. You're wrong. Doom the Dark Ages is a fresh original story, and it takes place before Doom 2016. Not engaging? Motherfucker, I get to use a shield saw and a Megazord with horns. Get the fuck out of here with your bullshit.
And it's really interesting seeing like that narrative slowly die down over the past couple of years, but it's gotten it's also had like a weird like chain effect when it comes to like, you know, IPs that were previously worshipped that are now suddenly just like falling off the beaten path. You know, I made a lot of videos talking about like how Final Fantasy 15 failed, and it's not until recently that like Square Enix has come out and like acknowledged it's a real thing and have like restructured as a result of that. And it seems that something similar is happening to id Software and Doom, right? Because Doom Eternal was absolutely hyped as like one of the best games of 2020, even though it wasn't the best game even released that day. But
I'm sorry, Harman, you were saying?
Like there was this really big push to get people to see Eternal as like one of the best games ever made. It really was like this weird coordinated like AstroTurf push among YouTubers and a lot of other grifters.
Harman, how many times are you going to use buzzwords that you don't know the definitions of? Once again, you are talking completely out of your ass. Doom Eternal was a success, even going as far as surpassing Doom 2016 in sales in both physical copies as well as Steam copies.
Push this mediocre release as some major milestone in gaming, but in reality, I think most people who have experience with the Doom IP, who have played these games before, who know a lot about them, know that Doom Eternal is a massive step down from previous entries in a lot of different ways. You know, when it comes to like the over design of the levels, you know, the dashing mechanic, when it comes to like, you know, just the tone and the story and the stupid theme, like the stupid like lore of it, right?
Oh my fucking god. I could totally see why people call you the Nintendo Karen. Harman, what the fuck does that even mean? Over design. Are you trying to tell us that you got lost in the game so you rage quit? I swear to god, this Eeyore looking motherfucker would walk into a KFC, order 2 buckets of chicken thighs, and get triggered if they give him extra.
You know, everyone who knows even the most basic thing about Doom knows that there is no plot. You know, all you have is that you're a guy running around Mars like shooting demons. That's it. Like that's basically the entire thing of Doom. But like 2016, like Doom Eternal tried to give it like this weird like gravitas, like soap opera kind of like, no, you're the most feared things to the demon. It's like it's just
Once again, Harman, you have contradicted yourself. Either the original Doom games have a plot, or they don't. Fucking pick one. Again, I'm new to the Doom franchise. My first Doom game ever is Doom Dark Ages. Thanks to Google and YouTube, I was able to catch up on all the lore. Also, it's the same Doom guy, you fucking retard. The new games literally just continue his story. Harman, how does being the most feared creature in all of the Doom universe fall under the soap opera category?
it was just like a blatant attempt to like kind of marvelize the IP and give it the same kind of like vibe and feel and like kind of stakes where like you're going around like killing the sorcerers and stuff like that. Like it doesn't suit Doom at all in any way, shape, or form. And
wait, so it doesn't suit Doom to kill hell cultists in a game series where the basic premise is that you need to mow down waves of demons just to get to the next objective? And are you seriously going to sit there and say that Doom 2016 didn't have stakes?
There was this very strong unwillingness among like the Doom Eternal community to admit it, even though plenty of older people like myself were pretty adamant, you know, right off the bat, like, you know, 2016 was better than this. And that's an opinion I think most people share today. But there were like very dedicated, hardcore Doom Eternal fanboys who acted like this was some masterpiece. But I think, considering the reception Doom the Dark Ages has had, seeing like the player numbers, seeing like how much interest has dropped off, I think it's safe to say general audiences were not that pleased with Doom Eternal.
You gotta be trolling, Harman. No shot you're for real. First off, how does Doom the Dark Ages have any bearing whatsoever on Doom Eternal? Doom Eternal came out in 2020, you fuckwit. Second, if you're going by Steam data alone, you lost the plot entirely because that only covers one platform and not the others. Third, how many times are you gonna keep swapping back and forth between Doom 2016 being trash and it being a banger?
Like, general audiences thought that Doom Eternal just didn't live up to the hype, that it wasn't as good as 2016, and that there's no real reason to check out Doom the Dark Ages when a new Nintendo console is on the horizon with the much better looking Mario Kart World as a launch game.
Translation: like-minded fanboys in Harman's echo chamber think that Doom Eternal didn't live up to the hype while showing zero data to back it up. Harman, you only want people to buy the new Switch, A, because you're a Nintendo golem, and B, because you're unironically triggered that Doom the Dark Ages isn't on your precious fucking platform. Also, a new Switch coming out has zero bearing on a game that has already come out on other platforms, you fucking retard.
Doom is about to be wrecked by Nintendo's best-selling franchise after getting wrecked by their second best-selling franchise. You know, like, again, like another L after L for Doom, you know. And this is the thing that like I've been saying a lot lately in regard to the Switch 2 and like the current state of things. Like, there is no like pretending as if like Nintendo and Xbox and PlayStation are like competing for different markets, because that never was true, never will be true, never will be true. Like, it was just a giant cope to justify how like PlayStation and Xbox still won the Wii generation, even though the Wii and DS combo was clearly way more popular with players in general. You know, New Super Mario Bros. Was way bigger than anything put out on the PlayStation 360.
Wrong again, Harman. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are all competing for the same general market, yes, which is to provide video games. However, at the moment, it's just Microsoft trying to compete with Nintendo in the handheld market. Way to rewrite history, Thunder Thighs. Actually, no, Xbox 360 won that battle in the console war. And that's coming from a real PlayStation gamer. Harman, you of all people shouldn't be using the word cope, considering how much bullshit just came out of your cock gobbler. Once again, you're talking completely out of your ass. New Super Mario Bros. Wasn't bigger than Halo Reach, Uncharted, Halo 3, or Demon's Souls. Shut the fuck up, you lying sack of dog shit.
But the cope among the industry was that it couldn't possibly be true, because the real games were only on PlayStation and Xbox. You know, that's been the narrative since the PlayStation came out, right? You know, the real games are on this platform. And that's a narrative that's just slowly been decaying over the past 25 years, because it's not true and never has been true, but the general public was led to believe it was. But, you know, the people are starting to realize that like Nintendo is not some company that's on the verge of bankruptcy. At this point, it's something that like you get laughed at if you try and like act as if Nintendo is this corporation that's doomed to fail. Or
Nintendo literally sued the devs of Power World for bullshit reasons and designed the Switch 2 to make it so that they can shut off your console at any time they please. Then to add insult to injury, Nintendo also got rid of traditional cartridges in favor of game key cards, and real gamers are justifiably pissed about it. It's truly crazy to me how unhinged fanboys like you will gaslight and minimize actual criticisms being made just to hype up your favorite brand.
like we saw this a lot with the Switch 2, actually, with all these analysts saying it was going to underperform. That's clearly not going to happen, but like, it's interesting. You know, you see all these statements about how Mario Kart World is going to underperform. You didn't see nobody came out and like speculated that Doom the Dark Ages would do less numbers than Eternal. Like, nobody really saw that coming. And
Wrong again, weetard. Numerous people all across YouTube and Discord were talking about it because Doom the Dark Ages was being released onto Game Pass, which would dramatically affect the sales data. Also, I love how you just glossed over the reason why analysts were saying that. For those of you who don't know, the reason why analysts were predicting the Switch 2 to flop is due to scalpers. During the pandemic, it was damn near impossible to purchase a Switch Lite as well as other consoles at the time, thanks to piece of shit scalpers using programs that, allow them to swipe up all the available product, and there was no safety guard to prevent this issue. There still isn't one today.
And I think that's a really strong indication of like where the industry is going, because you're going to have major tentpole like AAA franchises like this get released, whether it's Wolfenstein The New Order or Doom or like Skyrim 2 or like, Starfield or whatever, like major AAA IP that gets made, Duskbloods, another one. Like, you're going to have these things come out, be propped up among the industry, hyped as being the greatest things ever made, and then like reality sets in, and then you realize that like, wait a minute, this stuff was not as popular as what Nintendo was doing around that same time.
Harman, if what you're saying is even remotely true, which it's not, then why didn't Nintendo win Game of the Year back in 2016 or any time since?
And that's always been my problem with Doom Eternal, is that like
This is not a game that anybody's playing. This is not a game that anyone's talking about. It's not something that anybody cares for. And yet there's this religious minority of cultists who worship Doom Guy and think he's going to save us from like the woke mobs, when in reality, like, Doom is very much part of the problem. Like,
No, Grimace. You're the fucking problem. First off, you desperately need to get out of your grandma's basement because you're literally making up stories. Second, of course people aren't talking about Doom Eternal right now, Harman, considering Doom the Dark Ages just came out 2 months ago. Third, are you sure you want to be throwing around the word worship when you beat Nintendo's meat daily? Sidebar, anyone who uses the term woke in this way is an absolute fucking retard. African Americans would often tell their kids to stay woke, which in other words means be careful around white people, because as history dictates, we were absolute monsters. Nowadays, however, the term woke has been co-opted by the biggest white supremacist group in America, the MAGA cult, which from what it sounds like, Harman is a part of.
the developers are not capable of innovating. They can't do anything new, fresh, or exciting. And Eternal and the Dark Ages proves that very, very well. The only reason 2016 was received as well as it was, even by myself, was because like it wasn't exactly the same as every other FPS in the market, but it's still not great. You know what I mean?
No, Harman, I don't know what you mean. Nobody knows what you mean. Yeah, Doom Eternal and Doom the Dark Ages aren't like any other FPS game on the market, you fucking idiot. If they are, why don't you show some examples? Once again, you have contradicted yourself. You can't spend 8 whole minutes trashing on Doom and the newer games, only to turn around and claim that you received it well. Pick a lane, weetard. Also, the devs can't innovate, lil bro. They literally upgraded the life sigils so that you don't lose them if you reload to your last checkpoint. They also made it so that you can ride a dragon and use a fucking shield to defend yourself from enemy projectiles. Did I also mention that you get to ride a Megazord?
This is the reality of the situation, is that Doom, one of the most overhyped IPs in existence, cannot compete with Nintendo.
Here's the reality of the situation, Harman. You don't know what you're talking about because you exist solely in your own echo chamber with your small band of yes men. Doom is not overhyped because after I beat the Dark Ages, guess why I started playing Harman? Doom Eternal, you fucking douche nozzle. Yeah, you're only saying that Doom can't compete with Nintendo because the Dark Ages isn't on your Switch. Sidebar, have you all noticed that fanboys will compare things that don't make sense like Harman here? No joke, he's trying to compare Nintendo, a business, to Doom, a video game franchise.
Who is Gara of the Rage? I don't know. He's some spurg on YouTube who makes videos about other YouTubers trying to act as if he's some, like, enlightened individual as to the state of the industry.
Yeah, no bitch, you act like some enlightened individual. Gara, on the other hand, actually applies himself and does the research. You're just unironically pissed about it because his content is better than your drivel. And no, he doesn't call out other YouTubers. What he does is he calls out unhinged fanboys like you who make up bullshit lies that can easily be disproven by a simple Google search. You're such a pussy, Harman. Don't act like you don't know who Gara is. You tried pulling this stunt with AVS just recently, and I'm not letting your fat ass get away with it.
Who is Angry Vigilante Gamer? I don't know. He's just some guy with this, like, really terrible VTuber mob.
You're a spineless fucking coward, Harman. You know damn well who Angry Vigilante is, considering he's made a bunch of videos criticizing you for your bullshit takes. Also, are you sure you want to be calling other people's creations terrible after you made this cringe shit? Yikes, my guy. Just watch, when Harman sees this, he's gonna get so ass mad, he'll make a video of the channel here and go, "Who is RegulatorBlu of Digital Athletes?" Well, I don't know.
You know, you have dozens of these guys, right? You know, guys who will, like, edit their voice over, like, some generic FPS game, you know, narrating how ridiculous, like, you know, Nintendo fans are for being excited for a new Pokemon game or the like. You know, like it's one of the worst genres.
First off, Harman, that's a bullshit lie. Neither AVS, Gara of the Rage, or even Desire narrate how ridiculous Nintendo fans are for being excited for a new Pokemon game. That's entirely disingenuous, and you fucking know it. Second, my fellow athletes aren't talking about people being excited, Harman. They're criticizing shows like you who say stupid shit like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet being good games when in reality they're not. They're half-assed, poorly designed games that feel entirely unfinished, with a story that sounds like it was written by a bunch of 6th graders. And don't even get me started about post and pre-launch bugs. Oh my god, dude.
On YouTube, in the YouTube gaming community right now, because the more you see this content and this kind of like behavior, the more you realize it's tailor-made for a specific kind of person. You know, someone who just sits in a basement and just attacks other people for liking video games while not playing anything themselves.
Oh, you mean like what you do on a daily fucking basis? Correct me if I'm wrong, Harman, but didn't you spend months crying about Baldur's Gate 3 and people who like it more than whatever Nintendo put out that year? Because from what I hear, you're still bitching about it. Lil bro, how can you sit there with a straight face and spew all this bullshit when you currently reside in your grandma's basement? Your lack of self-awareness is blowing my mind, Harman. Also, you want to talk about behavior? Alright, let's talk about how unhinged fanboys like you and others will cry like spoiled fucking toddlers just because someone puts you on blast for your shitty behavior or your piss poor takes that aren't based in reality. It's like y'all are allergic to constructive criticism or some shit. It's fucking embarrassing.
You know, like this is something I've been pointing out for a long time because, you know, people like, oh no, it's Alex will spend like, 5 hours a night streaming, trying to become some YouTube celebrity while not playing any games, while not talking about any games, just going over some video that like Dreamcast guy or any of these like other people have made, trying to clown on them.
I'm gonna stop you right there, douchebag. First off, I don't care about the wannabe Andrew Tate or what he says because his opinion ain't worth shit to me. That being said, Alex doesn't have to try to clown because unhinged fanboys like you already make fools out of yourselves. Second, and I hope someone clips this, Dreamcast guy is not a PlayStation gamer or a fan, he is a Sony fanboy. Those of us who are actually a part of the PlayStation side of the gaming community, we do not claim him, Nib95, Reforge Gaming, or VG Fight School. All of these guys are bad faith actors who will lie to their audiences about the basic things just to look like the smartest guys in the room or to look reliable or authentic when in reality they're not. Third, Harman, I wouldn't be bitching about trying to become a YouTube celebrity if I were you, considering you pay for all your followers except for maybe 10 who share the same low-ass IQ that you got.
And it really doesn't work. At its core, PC gamers do not play video games. Like, this is why they're PC gamers. They're...
Oh my god, the brain rot. Oh, it hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Harman, I am so sick and fucking tired of ass clowns like you saying that folks who play on PC aren't actual gamers. You disingenuous cow. Yes, they are actual gamers, you dumb cunt. In fact, I have friends and siblings who primarily game on PC. Also, where do you think video games are made? You do realize they have to test these games before they port them to console, right? And for the record, PC gamers do play video games. Don't believe me? Stop stuffing your face with Cheeto Puffs long enough to actually apply yourself and go check out the Steam charts over on their website. PC gamers are just as relevant as console gamers, and it's high time we all start acting like it.
They're not playing video games. They're engaged in gaming culture through social media. And this is a real phenomenon that I've noticed when it comes to like fans of other mediums, like TV, anime, movies, books, this idea of having this like online culture revolving around a brand that a franchise that they don't really engage in,
That's ironic coming from the guy who clearly didn't read all the Lord of the Rings books, started bad-mouthing the author, and calling his work in fantasy weak compared to a video game franchise that came out in the late fucking 80s. You are such a hypocrite, Harman. How can you sit there and say people are engaging in video game culture through social media when you yourself are doing the very thing you claim to be against?
There are people who obsessively follow books, movies, TV shows that they don't actually watch, and instead just complain about them online incessantly, or like have their own alternative take on the characters or what have you.
Yeah, and guess what, Harman? That's you! It's really crazy how much you're projecting and gassing yourself up right now.
Like, it's a very real phenomenon, and a major reason I would argue that you absolutely 100% cannot take online discourse regarding any kind of media seriously because of how common this phenomenon is.
Okay, so by then your logic, we shouldn't take anything you say seriously.
When it comes to gaming, it's very evident to me that the PC Master Race don't actually play video games. They're not emulating anything. They're not buying anything on Steam. At most, they maybe spend like 10 or 20 hours playing like some flavor of the month game that year, and then they'll just move on to like the next thing, They'll just get hyped for the next product, Like,
Harman, how the fuck can you say that PC gamers aren't playing video games and then bitch about the time displayed on their Steam pages, proving they do spend 10 plus hours playing video games? Stop contradicting yourself for 2 goddamn seconds and pick a fucking lane, you retard.
And that becomes very evident when you look at these people's screens. When these guys like screen cap their Steam pages and show off like how much time they've put into their Steam accounts, it really puts into perspective as to what their gaming habits are, what they're playing, what exactly you're dealing with here. And
dude, what the fuck are you even going on about here? Why are you acting like the PC side of the gaming community is like the Covenant from Halo? Like it's some force that needs to be stopped or some shit. Also, that part where you said, they're not emulating anything. Yeah, that's true now because Nintendo, being the little bitches that they are, they called the FBI to get those websites taken down and the creators prosecuted.
Recently, I had like this really freak chance like encounter of tuning into a Gora of the Rage stream on Easter Sunday. I had just gotten back home after spending time with family. I checked my socials, I checked my stuff, and I noticed he's streaming, and I click on the page, and I just happened to see that on Easter Sunday he's talking about me. He's talking about the Harman Smith show. He's spending his holiday streaming about other gamers on the internet. It was pathetic. I wasn't super thrilled about that at all.
Yeah, I bet you're not happy about it, you fucking man-child. No, Harman, what's pathetic is you. First off, you're lying again, and we can all tell. You didn't just stumble on Agar's stream because you gave a specific date and details of what occurred. You went out of your way to go to his channel to watch his content. Secondly, I'm glad that Gar talking about you on a holiday triggers you, because I recorded the middle portion of this video here on Independence Day, you fat fuck. So now you can cry about me too, bitch.
It was just like, this is who the guy really is. This is how he spends his time. So, I scroll through the video, I look at it, and I realize that, oh, wait, he actually screen caps his Steam stat page. So you can see just how much time he's put into his games over the past couple of weeks. And I realized immediately that he doesn't play games,
I seriously fucking hate this guy. How? What? Harman, you just said you saw how much time Gara puts into his games. So how the fuck can you say that he's not playing video games, you inbred dumpster child? Also, don't act like you know who Gara is behind the scenes, cause you don't. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and claim that I do, don't be ridiculous. But from what I've seen, he's a wholesome gamer just like Surbrevian, Desire, AVS, Sasuke, Sadit, Wheaties, and more.
He has 20 hours in Marvel Rivals over the past few weeks. In comparison, I put about that much into like random games in like a weekend, you know. Like Xenoblade Chronicles X, I think I put like more time into in like a week. Yeah, so like 2 weeks, he played Marvel Rivals for 20 hours, and it really just goes to show you like how little he's actually playing.
Harman, the fact that he's put 20 hours into the game in less than 2 weeks proves that he does play games. You are once again contradicting yourself. Please, for the love of fuck, have some self-awareness.
Because, like, you know, that's an older game now. No one really talks about it. No one cares about it. And it's a mediocre, just hero shooter thing that's only popular with Coomers and just Marvel, just cocksuckers, right? Like, Marvel Rivals is a complete joke that nobody in the community really follows or cares about in any way, shape, or form. And yet, like, we're supposed to believe, like,
I swear, if I had a penny for every time Harman says like or combs his receding hairline back, I'd be as rich as Tony Stark. No, Harman, you're the joke. Not only do you look like the offspring of Conehead and Sloth from the Goonies, you have also lost the plot entirely. Marvel Rivals is a popular game considering they have released the 3rd season already, and more gamers are joining the game by the day. A mediocre hero shooter thing. Is your dumbass for real? You also claim that it's an older game now, and that nobody really talks about it, no one cares about it, yet I'm currently playing it as I'm roasting you. And fun fact for you, retard, Marvel Rivals came out December of last year, which means it's still in its infancy. In other words, it ain't that old, dumbass.
this is what the PC master race is spending time with. You know, this is what PC gamers are doing. You know, like when they're not on the rare occasions they do boot up a stream, is that they play basic licensed games like Marvel Rivals, like Warhammer Space Marine 2, you know, like you know, everything else whatever. Like they play these basic games while like coming after you for being excited for say Mario Luigi Brothership or Nintendo Switch 2 or like what have you. Like this is the video game that they think is better than what Nintendo is doing.
Harman, I hate to shatter your inflated and fragile ego, but any game that comes out on PlayStation or Xbox will always be better than whatever Nintendo puts out. Again, if what you're saying is even remotely true, which it's not, then why haven't any of their games won Game of the Year in the past decade? Harman, don't you fucking dare act like you could speak for the PC side of the gaming community. You're just an unhinged Nintendo fanboy with a major superiority complex.
And it's just so obviously insane if you just know about like the general the industry and like what's actually out there and how much time you can actually put into like, you know, Nintendo games. Like he had like 90 hours in Marvel Rivals total. And like, you know, I put more time in than that into Xenoblade Chronicles 3 when I played through it last year, right? Like
Okay, and what's the point you're trying to make here, Harman? If you're trying to say that you as a gamer will pour more hours into a single player game or offline game rather than an online multiplayer game, then I agree. But you're not talking about that. No, what you're talking about is in terms of Nintendo games versus online games, which is so incredibly dumb.
and of course, like, you know, Marvel Rivals being an online shooter will go on indefinitely as opposed to like an RPG, which adds a But anyway, like,
Way to prove my point, you fucking moron. Also, no, Marvel Rivals won't go on indefinitely. No online game other than Fortnite can. And for the record, the games that you listed, like Warhammer 40k and what have you, are not basic games, you fucking retard.
it just goes to show you just like how little these people actually play games. And they'll try and cope about that. They'll try to say that like, oh, I have other platforms. Well, first of all, I do too.
First off, Harman, it doesn't matter if you have multiple platforms or not, because we all know that you're not actually playing video games, because you spend more time bitching rather than trying to unwind and enjoy a decent game. Second, do you hate watch Hamas Piker or something? Because I shit you not, you sounded just like that piece of shit.
I'll try to say that like, oh, I have other platforms. Well, first of all, I do too.
Out of context to be like, I'm actually one of the good content creators. I know how privileged I am. It's like, yeah, I do too.
And second of all, you constantly deride and attack those other platforms as being like inferior to PC. So to me, like the fact that you like own other platforms kind of debunks the notion that like you're emulating games on PC, that you can just pirate everything.
Harman, PC gamers having multiple platforms to game on has zero bearing on whether or not they are pirating or emulating games, you fucking idiot. And as a real PlayStation gamer who has played on Steam back in 2016, I can confirm that there is no other superior platform than PC. PC is the superior platform.
It's like the definitive platform, because if PC gaming was so superior, you wouldn't need other platforms. That's the reality of the situation, right? I own other platforms myself, but I don't use them because they're just not on the level of quality as Nintendo hardware. And I talked about this before, but like, you know, it's
not on the same level of quality as Nintendo. What the fuck are you talking about? Newsflash, Harman. Nintendo is still using old software, which is why they have remained third place in the console war for the past 2 fucking decades. Also, that's not true at all. PlayStation needs Xbox to thrive, and vice versa. If one were to lose the other today, then there would be zero competition, which means zero incentive to innovate further.
I actually the time spent on my Nintendo Switch is clearly demonstrable, right? You know, on my stream days, I average about like 5 to 6 hours. You know, I've gone as high as like 13 before. You know, I would be streaming more if I had more time. You know, like I have like an endless amount of games to play on Nintendo hardware, and it just feels like to me that no PC gamer is really doing the same thing. You know, I don't know anybody who plays more games than me in that respect. Like, I don't know anybody in the sphere who like plays as many genres as I do, or knows as much about games. Like,
yeah, you don't know anybody because you live in your grandmother's basement, you fat fucking retarded bitch. Quick question of the rhetorical variety. How can we tell how much time you've been putting into Nintendo games if A, you don't show it, and B, you've been caught on stream numerous times rage quitting games?
The PC Master Race is just a complete and total joke and needs to be treated as such.
No, Harman, you're the fucking joke. Are there unhinged Steam fanboys like VG Fight School who take things way too far? Absolutely, but that doesn't give you the right to behave the same way towards folks who have done absolutely nothing to you.
Hoping that this extremely controversial hot take kind of slips between the cracks and my channel doesn't get fucking deleted, because this really needs to be said. George Floyd needed to be kneeled on. What a piece of shit. Like, oh man, a black criminal getting busted by the police. How terrible. How awful was that? Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag Black Lives Don't Matter, I suppose.
First off, Harman, you're fucking disgusting. It doesn't matter that he had a criminal record. What happened to him at the hands of a racist cop is an atrocity. Second, you remember how in the intro here you said that black people commit half the crimes in the United States? Yeah, that's 150% bullshit. Tell me you're a racist piece of shit without telling me. Don't you worry, Harman. We still have the video, so none of what you said here will slip through the cracks. And I also reported your channel for promoting hate. Real quick, those of y'all who want to be a part of this community, please do not go out of your way to target people like this who we criticize. If you got something negative you want to say it down here in the comments section. We here at Digital Athletes do not condone nor tolerate harassment of any kind, and if you are caught doing so, you will be banned. Alright, my fellow athletes, that's all I got for you today, but I want to hear from you. What's your take on this unhinged Nintendo fanboy? Do y'all think Harman Smith is terrible? Let us know in the comments below, and until next time.